Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orum, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. How is everyone doing out there in the Deep Dive Podcast land across the globe? Prayerfully, everybody is doing well. We're here another night to share some things with you that hopefully can impact your life in a positive way. So, welcome. Thank you to all of you who are our continued listeners and followers to the Deep Dive Podcast. I really appreciate your support. I appreciate all that you do for the podcast. And for those of you who are new, welcome to the Deep Dive Podcast experience. I'm really excited just to get a chance to share some things with you tonight. Hopefully, we won't be that long tonight. In fact, tonight is the season finale of season 3 of the Deep Dive Podcast. We're going to be on hiatus for just a couple of months, not that long. We'll come back the beginning of January, but we want to come back bigger, better, stronger than ever. We have some new visions and ideas and thoughts, and just based on recommendations and new guests lined up, and studio, just everything. So I'm looking forward to season 4. Season 3 has been incredible. We started out talking about so many different things of empowerment. I wanted to bring a lot more guests, to become involved with the podcast, but I have to listen to my audience, and most of you love the empowerment information, which, I'm very proud and appreciative of, that you're getting some value for what it is that we're doing. And so we get feedback from our Facebook group, and people just excited about being empowered because it's something tangible that they can use to really impact their lives in a positive way. So, I continue to do that, but I do want to have a bit more of a mix going into 2024 season 4 when we kick that off. But all of you, make sure that you subscribe to the Facebook page, Deep Dive Podcast with Sam Orum. We're going to keep you up to date, posted on everything that's happening while we're in hiatus, and then also give you any kind of tips and tidbits, and just sneak peeks in terms of what season 4 will look like, some of the guests that we have lined up, things of that nature. So just make sure you go to the Deep Dive Podcast Facebook group with Sam Orum, and make sure you're participating. And I got to do a better job interacting with everybody too. So we're going to make sure we do that. But I wanted to close out season 3 with, again, a message of empowerment, because there's so many things that's going on, as you guys know, around the world right now, politically, economically, socially, so forth and so on. But I want to make sure that we have a positive mindset as to what the future can hold for us, and I want to prepare us for what that positive future should be. So tonight's episode, what I want to talk to you about is just how to prepare for increase, how to be prepared for increase. A lot of times, and I've said this in past podcasts, but a lot of times people pray for certain things, but wonder why they don't get those things that they are praying for. A lot of times is that you're not prepared for it. You can't handle the weight of what those prayers are. So we have to go through a process of growth to really make those things manifest themselves. I want you to understand, and I want you to realize that in order to have the things that you so desire, you have to be prepared for the things that you so desire. It just doesn't happen. We have to put certain actions, certain efforts, certain prayers, certain processes in place that will allow us to succeed. So hence the term prepare for increase, right? So just take some notes. I'm going to really give you 10 things that I think will help you. I wanted to tangibly write down 10 when I was thinking about these, and I was taking a couple of notes right before this podcast, and I started jotting down, just a few things that I thought of. I was at like 20 different things. I'm like, nah, that's too long. Let me just get like 10 bullet points that you can focus on so that you can digest what it means. Because a lot of times preparing for increase, it really involves a commitment to deepening your connection with yourself, or deepening a connection with your creator, A lot of times it causes you to question or your values come into play, your beliefs come into play. All of these things are part of being prepared for an increase. So let me just tell you about 10 things that you can study on while we're on hiatus and really apply these things to your lives. And by the way, when I say we're on hiatus, that's for new content every week. We're still going to air. I'm going to air podcasts during this same time slot every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I may change the time season 4, I don't know, but I'll continue to air, but they will be repeats of some of the highest rated previous podcasts. So we'll still be here. But as far as the live podcast, I'm going to kick that off again, season 4 in January. So write these 10 things down. Let's start with number 1. We're talking about how to prepare for increase. Well, I think, and this is my personal opinion, but I think one of the first things you need to do, number 1, is to have self-reflection. Have self-reflection. Now, I've talked about this in varying ways over the past season, but when you're talking about getting ready for increase, being prepared for increase. By the way, what does increase mean? It means being better than you are today. It means having more than you have today. It means being stronger than you are today. So all of these are very important as it relates to increase. But I think the first thing is self-reflection. Self-reflection. So you want to take out the time to really understand your current state. Where are you? Ask yourself questions about your beliefs. Ask yourself questions about your values and the aspects of your spirituality that you like to develop or increase. So look at it like this. Where are you in terms of your values and how can you make those better? Where are you in terms of your beliefs and how can you make that better? Where are you in terms of your spirituality and how can you make that better? So that first part is when we talk about self-reflection, it is to take a look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, look, this is who I am, this is where I am, and this is where I want to be. So jot that down for step 1. So let's look at the second one. Now, again, we talked about self-reflection, but the second thing is to set clear intentions. Now, you guys have heard me talk about setting goals, right? You've heard me talk about that over and over and over. Your intentions are a bit more than your goals because, goals is something tangible. We talked about SMART goals being specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and trackable. Those are SMART goals. But your intentions, you want to define what your increase means to you, because what it means to you, it may be something different to someone else. You and I both could have the same goal, and that is to go into a football game and win the football game. You have the goal, you have the plan, the outcome is the same. You want to win the game, right? But increase may be different between varying people. What your version of increase may be, and it may be something totally different than mine. So what is it for you? What does increase mean for you? Is it a deeper connection with a higher power? Is it more inner peace? Is it to live stress-free? Is it to have a stronger sense of purpose for your life? What does increase mean to you? Now, no one can answer that question for you but you, right? No one can answer that but you. So setting clear intentions, that's going to guide you through your journey in terms of what increase means to you. You can't make, and I can't make my goals be your goals. We tell people that all the time in business. What are your goals? Just because we want you to hit the top position of a company or to become a millionaire or a billionaire, that may not be your path. That may not be your journey. So what does increase mean to you? That was number 2. So number 3 is this: your prayers and your spiritual foundation. I always kind of hesitate with this because I'm a believer. I'm a firm believer. I'm a believer in prayer. I'm a believer in my God, my creator, the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm a believer, but everybody doesn't believe. So when I talk about prayers and I talk about rituals, I have a two-pronged approach to how I would address this, because certain people who are solid in their faith Absolutely. You have to be solid in your prayer. You have to be solid in your beliefs and your rituals. There are other people who may not be as strong in terms of their spiritual foundation, but you have to have some type of substance, some type of foundation to lean on when life gets hard. You can't do this thing by yourself. You can't become great by yourself. There always has to be something or someone involved in you being great. So whether you believe or not, you have to have a solid spiritual foundation. So when I talk about prayer, number three, when I talk about prayer, when I talk about rituals, if you have religious beliefs or prayers or rituals specific to your faith, right? Then that can be an essential part to how you prepare or get prepared for increase. I said this a couple of weeks ago on one of the podcasts. It's like I got to a point where I was, stagnant. We talked about the curse of stagnation, but I got to a point where I was stagnant and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know how to do anything. And I had to realize that I'm not in control. I had to instantly become a follower of my faith. And I'm like, God, just lead me. Just lead me. Give me the wisdom, the strength, and the resources to execute your mandate, because I can't figure this thing out. Right. So sometimes you have to have that level of faith. You have to have that level of obedience. You have to have that level of belief. Engage in these kind of practices regularly and with sincerity. When I talk about sincerity, that means you can't BS God. You got to be for real when you go into prayer and like, look, Lord, this is what I need your help. I need your, guidance. I need your wisdom. I need your relevance. I need all of these things. So that third thing is to have a solid prayer or ritual foundation, right? In addition to that, the fourth thing you want to do is seek guidance. I've said this ad nauseum, but I believe in mentorship. I believe in leadership. So consider seeking guidance from a mentor, from a leader, from a counselor, anyone who can provide insights and support to whatever it is you need for your increase, whatever that means to you. But just consider that. Consider seeking that guidance. Mentors, I'm a big believer in mentors. I am a mentor to many, and I am mentored by others. So I believe in that because I know what I know, but I also know what I don't know. And I have to surround myself with people who can fill my lack, because I lack in so many areas, right? And if you don't attack your lack will attack you. So I have to surround myself with people, with situations, with circumstances that will allow me to become whole because they feel my lack. That's what it means to seek guidance, whether it's a mentor, a leader, a community leader, counselor, anybody in that realm, therapist. They can potentially provide insight and support your journey of increase, whatever that may be. The fifth thing is, and this is important, service and acts of kindness. A lot of times people don't realize that your increase is predicated upon how you treat and service other people. A lot of people don't get that. They live a selfish life. They live a selfish, they have selfish personas, but they don't understand that a lot of times your increase is tied into service or acts of kindness that you do to or for other people. Engaging in acts of services or engaging in acts of kindness, this can be a way for you to connect spiritually or just even prepare for increase. Because think about it. People ask me all the time, and some people that know my goal is to become a billionaire. They say, well, why do you want to become a billionaire if you can live a quality of life without that? Because I want to give it away. I want to be able to give it away. I am a giver at nature. Giver by nature. And so I would want to do that. And when I say give it away, just not flippantly, but to be able to help people, empower people, build homeless shelters, build women's shelter, and, just whatever it may be. But I want to be able to have the power through resources to give. So service and acts of kindness are very important. Helping others can be a profound experience as it relates to your increase. Furthermore, what do you want to increase for if you're not going to be a blessing to yourself and your family and then subsequently other people, right? So a lot of times increase can be predicated on that. The sixth thing is, and I said this again in a lot of podcasts. By the way, you're going to hear a lot of this information is redundant because facts are facts. And so if you hear it over and over, that's a clue that is something that you should kind of jump on. And that's no different than number 6, and that's talking about journaling. I got to be honest with you guys. I try to journal. I try to keep up with the experiences of my day or my week or my life or my, experiences or things of that nature. I'm not the best at it, but I know the value of it. And here's why I know the value of it, because everybody that I studied or interviewed for my book, The Mindset of a Champion, they all talked about journaling in varying ways. Now, there were people back in the day, whether it was Gandhi or Ali or these people, it was called something else, right? People call it journaling, diary, whatever the term may be. But at the end of the day, you want to be able to just keep a record of your thoughts. That's what we're talking about with number 6, journaling. Keep a record of your thoughts. Keep a record of your experiences and any insights that are gained during your increased journey. Write that stuff down. I would even think that even if bad things happen, write those things down too, because you want to be able to eliminate the bad and accentuate the good, right? You want to be able to take those bad things. Well, why did this happen? And you look back at your journey, you're like, oh, I see, I did this, or I didn't do that, or I should have done this, those kind of things. All of your experiences, but keep a journal, keep a record of your thoughts, keep a record of your experiences, keep a record of any insights gained on your journey to increase, because that's going to help you build upon that particular step, if you will. So when you go into 2024, 2025, 2026 and beyond, you're building upon these increases and not starting over at ground zero. All right. The seventh thing is to, and again, this is old faithful, but you got to practice gratitude. You got to practice gratitude. Practicing gratitude can actually help you stay connected to the positive aspects of your life. It will also help you foster a sense of contentment, and spirituality and growth and increase, all of these things, because you become grateful for what you have as opposed to being spazzing out for what you don't have. I tell people this all the time, that people want things, houses, cars, boats, this, that, and the other, and all this other stuff, but they fail to realize that you currently have a roof over your head. Even though it may not be what you want, you got a roof over your head, you got food in your belly, you're not going hungry, you got a car to drive. It may not be the kind of car you want, but you got a car to drive. You're not missing any meals, and you're not in any obvious pain. You got all of these things that you don't show gratitude for, because you're always seeking something bigger and better. You think the grass is greener on the other side, but man, you got to be grateful for what you have first. Remember, we're talking about being prepared for increase. If you're not grateful for what you have, then you're not going to be grateful for the increase, and that's not sustainable. So practice gratitude. You should be grateful for the small things. I mean, it could be anything. You walk out of the house and forget to take your phone, and you get in the car, and all of a sudden you think about, oh, I left my phone. Thank you, Lord, I didn't drive all the way to work and didn't have my phone, or whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying, right? But just practice gratitude. So that was number 7. Number 8 is community involvement, fellowship, just kind of being in the midst of positive people who are going a certain direction, right? I don't mean getting around negative people. In fact, you want to run from negative people. But I'm talking about building a community of people, like minds and like spirits, fellowshipping with people who have like minds and like spirits, because they're going to lift you up. They're going to give you attaboys. They're going to pat you on the back. They're going to keep you engaged in what your increase is. And you want to be able to not only help yourself, but help that community of people just through your experiences, your success, your journaling. You can easily tell them, well, this works or this does not work, based on the fact that you're journaling and you're going through that process. Building a community is very important. We would be so much further ahead if we could support each other's communities. And I don't just mean living, I mean in terms of business, I mean in terms of vision, I mean in terms of just positivity. But in a lot of cases, we do the opposite. We try to tear each other down and we try to, just poo-poo on everybody's success and all these other kind of things. Well, if you could get good at community building, if you could get good at fellowshipping with people who have like minds and spirits and engaging with your community or, like-minded people, people who share your beliefs, people who share your values. This is something else too that's important. And there's a bit of a side note, but it kind of is, but it kind of is not. A lot of people have different values. A lot of people have different beliefs. A lot of people believe different things spiritually and otherwise. When you're building a community, it is absolutely okay for you to share your beliefs or your values or even your spirituality with other people, because it will help them grow, even if it's just at the level of understanding who you are and what you believe. What is not cool is when you try to force your values, beliefs, or spirituality on somebody else, because what that's going to do is going to turn them off. It's going to turn them off. I'm open to listening to everybody and everything. I'm open to doing that. I'm not open to being told to do anything by anybody. My mama gone, and that was the only person that could tell me what to do, right? So if you want to get my attention, I'm open to listening to anything. I may agree, I may disagree, but I'll listen. But if you try to force your beliefs or your values or your spirituality or whatever down my throat, then I bring up that wall. I bring up that wall. And most people do. It's not just me. I'm not talking about me. Most people do that, even in business. And this is a referendum on a lot of you who are part of One Voice. If you're listening in, you should be. Hopefully, you are. But this is something when I talk about not trying to cram this stuff, you don't just walk up to people and immediately try to convince them why your business is the greatest business ever. They need to do it or they just gonna die. You know what I mean? You can't do that. You don't do that even in business. Can't like, well, I got the greatest company ever, the greatest products ever. This is the greatest thing. I don't do that. And I own the company. The way you want to do that is you have to, first of all, find out what's important to the other person. Okay. Then when you find out what's important to the other person and the things that they lack, then you want to offer them a solution. And a lot of times that solution could come from your business or could come from your product. If you got joint pain, we got a product called Flexum that's for joint pain. So you don't walk up to somebody and say, you look like you got joint pain, try this Flexum product. No, 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 no. In the midst of a conversation, you just casually conversing with somebody and they, talk about, they having aches and pains and arthritis and those type things and gout and, joint type issues. We'll say, hey, look, my company by the name of One Voice Worldwide, we have a great product called Flexum, and it is for joint support, ... whatever it may be. Now, I'm not trying to, I'm not talking about One Voice per se. I'm talking about what it means, right? To build a community and fellowship with people without turning people off. That's the point I'm trying to make. So that's number 8. Keep that in mind, and sharing and discussing your experiences of increase and how you can enrich or benefit or better somebody else's life. That should be your number 1 priority. And then everything else you're doing should be secondary. And I got to tell you, like they say, you'll capture more what is it, flies with honey or bees with honey than you will with vinegar or whatever it is. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Let me just keep moving. The 9th thing is forgiveness and letting go. And when I'm talking about forgiveness and letting go, I ain't talking about forgiving somebody else. I'm talking about forgiving yourself. Yeah, you got to forgive other people, right? But forgiving other people is for you, is about you. It's not about that person. So forgiveness and letting go, forgiving other people, letting go of past grievances with other people, letting go of past grievances or situations with yourself, right? This can be a significant step in terms of how you prepare for increase. Well, again, whether that's spiritual increase, whether that's financial increase, whether that's community increase, but being able to just let stuff go. There is nothing you can do about what happened yesterday. Nothing. Nothing you can do about it. You cannot change the past. So let it go. Let it go. Being able to forgive yourself, being able to forgive others, and let these things go, it's going to lead to inner peace. It's going to lead to a lighter heart, and it's going to lead to more success for you in terms of whatever your increase is. So keep that in mind. And 10th and finally, the final thing, consistency. And guys, just be patient. Just be patient. Here's the irony of what I just said about you can't change the past. You cannot change the past, right? But you can create the future. But here's the key to that. Understanding that even though you have an opportunity to create the future, you have to be patient in that creation of the future. You can't just instantly say, I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. You got to be patient. You got to practice consistency. You got to practice stick-to-itiveness in order to create that future, but you got to be patient. You can't do it all. You can't do it tomorrow. There's so many things that come into play when you're talking about creating the future, right? So understand that increase it's a gradual process. It's going to take some time. Most of the time that it's going to take is because you got to grow. But you got to be consistent in your practices, whatever they are, in terms of your increase. And you got to be patient with yourself. Don't get frustrated. Don't get disillusioned. Remember what I just said in step 9. Let it go. If something doesn't work, let it go. Just be patient. Practice that consistency. Just pounding away at your goals, pounding away at your vision, pounding away at your purpose, right? But you can't rush the journey. Don't rush the journey. Just stay prepared. Allow it to unfold at its own pace, because quite frankly, you can't change it anyway. You can create an environment, but there's some things that are totally out of your control, no matter how you create your future. Let me give you another quick example before we get out of here. You may say you're going to, start a business, right? And great, you start a business. Let's say you're going to start a shoe store. All right. So now you got to get shoes, right? You're going to start a shoe store, you got to get shoes. Well, are you going to make the shoes yourself, or are you going to get the shoes from somewhere else already made? Okay. If you're going to get the shoes from somewhere else, that means you have to have some type of relationship with that vendor. You can't control how the vendor works, right? So that's one thing that you can't control, even though you're creating a future in terms of owning the shoe store. Well, now you start to get customers. We know what challenges that bring, but they purchase the shoes. Well, now you got to, before they purchase, if they're going to use a credit card or debit card, most cases you have to have a merchant account. We've got to have a merchant account. You have to have a bank account associated with that. So now you're dealing with MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express. You're dealing with some kind of banking institution. Those are other vendors or partners that can control how you do business, right? That's not in your control, even though you're creating your future. Then you got situations where after the sale is done, you have to do shipping, or you have to do inventory, or you have to pay taxes, or whatever it may be. These are also entities that you can't control. We get this all the time with One Voice, and I don't want to keep talking about One Voice because y'all gonna think this is a One Voice presentation. That is not. But we get this all the time with people like, well, I ordered my product and it was supposed to be here in 3 days and it's not here and blah, blah, blah. We'll go look and we like, it was shipped on such and such day. Here's the tracking number, but I don't have it. What do you want us to do? It's in FedEx's truck. It's in the USPS truck. It's on UPS truck. It's on an airplane. Tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. If you want me to go and go to the airport and go to the UPS plane and go get your package and drive it to your door, is that your level of expectation? So you have to understand that we're subjected to the point I'm making is we're subjected to other people's success or failure. If FedEx breaks your bottle of pure oil, your black seed oil, yeah, we'll make that right. But we can't control the fact that FedEx broke your product. We can't control the fact that you got this shoe store and the shoe manufacturer messed up on some shoes. We can't control the fact that your merchant provider, the one that you selected, they're charging you 3 or 4% on your credit card when you should be getting a much better percentage. We can't control those things, and you can't control those things. So why am I sharing that? You got to be patient. You got to organically allow even creating the future to manifest itself, whether that's spiritually, whether that's, spiritually, it comes through understanding. When I say saying be patient, you got to be patient and understand what the word of your creator is all about. You got to study that. Then you got to apply it. And sometimes the only way things register, if you have to live, you don't know what it feels like to be 60 until you get 60. You don't know what it feels like to be 80 until you turn 80. You just don't. You can't. It's impossible. A man, you don't know how it feels to have a baby. It's impossible. So there are limitations to what you can create. But when you do that, just practice consistency in terms of pounding away at your purpose, your goal, and your increase, and practice patience in terms of getting to the end goal, whatever that may be. All right. So just remember, everybody, just, increase it's a very personal journey. It's different for everybody. What may work for one person may not work for another person, but just stay open to different approaches and adapt your practices on how you increase to the things that's going to resonate most with yourself, with you, your inner self, your beliefs, your values, and your spirituality. What are the things that's going to resonate most with you? You can't take my values and make them your values unless you create them as your own, right? So you have to understand that your spiritual path, your path of increase, is unique to you. And there's no one size fits all type of approach to building increase. So just keep that in mind. Everybody may be different, and don't even allow other people to try to just push their goals, as I mentioned, onto you. If you want to, be at a certain place at a certain time in your life in a certain situation, then make that happen. Manifest that by creating a future, but don't allow somebody to try to talk you out of that, up or down, to say you need more or you don't need that. More or less, do you, right? Do you. So again, that's going to wrap up not only this episode of the Deep Dive Podcast, but it's going to wrap up season 3. I think we had about, 40 plus episodes. That's a lot. That's 40 weeks. That's a lot of stuff we had in season 3. So go back and you should see, if you go to my website, the deepdivepodcast.live, you'll see all of the episodes listed: season 1, season 2, season 3. Season 4 is going to kick off January. I think it's January the 8th or 9th, 10th, somewhere in that area, but the first or second Thursday in January. And it's going to be a blast. But during this hiatus, just, still tune in, because we're going to do some of the top replays. And I think you guys get a kick out of that, a lot of mileage out of that. I may have to pop my head in and do something live at some point, just only from a standpoint of we never know what's going to happen in the world. So, I may have to come in and say, hey, everybody, get out. Let's go. But stay tuned every week. I certainly appreciate all of you. As I said, I continuously say this because it's so important. Continue to like, subscribe, download, and share. I'm going to put some things in place for season 4 that's going to make it a lot more interactive. I'm always, I want to kind of take live questions and stuff. And every time I get ready to pull the trigger on that, because, with the radio station, One Voice Radio, I know you can't do this on YouTube, those of you who are watching, but if we're live on One Voice Radio, I can actually take live questions and live information and live, that kind of stuff. But I'm always a bit hesitant because, sometimes you get these crazy people on, and I'm practicing not, cussing and cutting up and all of that. So I'm trying not to send myself there. So anyway, we're going to see how we can incorporate all those things into season 4 to make it more interactive for all of you. Thank you so much for joining me on this particular episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Let's continue to be great. Let's continue to like, subscribe, download, and share. God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world.